This lesson is about multiplication equations. Equations like 3x equals 6 are called multiplication equations because the expression 3x means 3 times the value of x. If it didn't mean 3x, then you would see a addition or subtraction symbol in between it. So since it's not there, we assume it means multiplication. So the inverse operation for multiplication is division. So if you divide each side of an equation by the same number, the two sides remain equal. For instance, this is 3x and 6. If we take that and divide it into groups, there are 3 x's here. Wait for the computer. Okay, well, we'll just look at what it shows. There are 3 x's here. Don't know what that was. And so we need this split into 3 groups. So as you can see, they've circled across over here. So the solution is x equals 2. So when we look at this equation, this is 20 equals 4 times x. To get rid of a 4 times x, you divide by 4. We're not trying to get rid of the x, just the 4. So to undo multiply 4, we divide 4. But of course, if you do it on that side, you also have to do it over here. So we write 20 divide 4. And we do use the fraction bar here instead of the divide symbol because it just looks a little bit cleaner. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. And the 4x divided by 4 just gives you 1x left over. Because if you think about it, 4 divided by 4 is 1. So the answer would be 5 to this. So looking at our next ones, we have 8 times x equals 24. So I'm going to divide by 8, just the 8, because 8 divided by 8 is 1, which means I just have an x left. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And in fact, if you plug that back in, 8 times 3 is 24, so it works. Six x equals 36. Well, I need to get rid of that multiply 6 with the divide 6. And 36 divided by 6 is going to be 6. Now notice I did not change the sign here like I did with add and subtract. That's because, again, 6 divided by 6 equals 1. But if I had done a negative down here, then that would mean 6 divided by negative 6, which is negative 1. And I want a 1x, not a negative 1x. So you can always go back and check. Make sure you chose the right one. 6 times 6 is 36. So I did it correct. Right. This is 1.5 times x. Doesn't matter that it's a decimal. You still do the same thing. I want to undo multiply 1.5. So I divide by 1.5. So x equals 2. And if you didn't know that in your head, of course, you could have always gone over here. You can't have decimals on the outside, so we have to move it once, which means you're really dividing 15 into 30. This one says, Mr. Acosta's car can travel an average of 24 miles on each gallon of gasoline. Write and solve an equation to find out how many gallons of gasoline she will need for a trip of 348 miles. So this is the total. It's 25 per mile. So we want to know how many gallons. I'm going to say G equals gallons of gas. You should always define your variable. This is called defining your variable. So with G, it's 24 times the gallons to equal my total. So this is your equation, and then it says to solve it. So to undo multiplication, I divide. So G is going to equal 24 goes into 34 once with 10 left over, and I'm guessing 24, I need an 8, it's not going to be 2, maybe 6, nah, 7. 7 sounds better maybe. That's going to be too much. All right, let me just do this the old-fashioned way. by which way I mean I'm going to grab a calculator because I'm recording. However, what you should do on this is go over to the side and work out your long division. So 24 and 1, that's going to give you 24. There's 10 left over, drop it down. So goes in 4 times. 24 times 4, that's going to be 1696. And that's 12. Add your 0, drop it down. 120. Apparently it goes in 5. Okay. So our answer on this is 14.5 gallons of gas. Costs 10 cents to send a text message. You can spend a total of $5. How many text messages can you send? Well, if T equals text message, then it is 10 cents per text, and that should equal my $5. A good way to think about this is if you are going to divide, like if you would just divide to solve this problem, you're going to be writing the opposite of that, which is a multiplication problem. The last one, we would have taken those miles and divided by the total miles by the number of miles per gallon to find our numbers, our gallons that we would need. So when we're writing our equation, we would actually write a multiplication equation because, again, if I write a multiplication equation, then I have to use division to solve it, which is what you told me you would do originally. So divided by 5 divided by 0.10 is going to be 50. So you could spend 50 text messages. Send 50 text messages. And of course, if you needed to show a little bit more work than that, you could go over to the side and do that. Okay. Brandy wants to buy a digital camera that costs $300. She's going to save 15 per week. How many weeks will it take? Well, I would take 300 and divide it by 15 to solve this problem on my own, which means I should be writing a multiplication equation. So I'm going to say 15 times W, where W equals weeks, is going to equal my total. That way, to solve, I divide, and W should equal 20. So my answer is 20 weeks. So that's all we have for today. Look in the next couple pages of your math booklet and you'll see today's assignment.